Pizza time.
The time has come.
The time has come!
Hey everybody, it's just me today. And don't worry, I won't be wearing this the whole time. No, I won't wear it the whole time, but I have it, so I might as well use it, right? So, yeah, hello everybody, it's just me today. And if you couldn't tell, we're talking about Jurassic World Dominion. Finally, it's been a while, and I haven't done a review or even like a thoughts video on it yet, but figured today might as well. So, here's the thing. I made a video about like my theories, my expectations, my excitement for this movie like a month ago, 2 months ago. It's actually the most watched video on this channel so far, so thank you everyone for that. And in that video, I said I'd probably love Jurassic World Dominion regardless of if it was actually good, because I'm just a huge dinosaur nerd. Yeah. I'm not standing by that as strongly as I was expecting to. So I'm just gonna get into it now. I didn't hate it as much as a lot of other people are saying. But again, as I've referenced in past videos, I'm not a real critic, so take all of my thoughts with a grain of salt, I guess. Because when you look up like Jurassic World Dominion reviews on YouTube, all the thumbnails are saying stuff like it's a dumpster fire, it's a mess, should we have even made the Jurassic World movies to begin with? And I think that's a bit much. The movie itself is not good. Like, as a movie, no, it's not good. There were things I liked about it. There were things I didn't like about it. There's really nothing that I hated about it, truly. It's just, first, we'll do the positives. And then I'll elaborate on the negative. Positive stuff. There are new dinosaurs. That's an easy one. Fun to see new dinosaurs all over the place. I think we technically get introduced to maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 brand spanking new ones we've never seen before. So that's always good stuff. And they were cool ones too. It's not like got introduced to any lame dinosaurs. Other positives, I liked seeing the old cast again, the legacy characters, and I think for the most part it made sense how and why they were in the movie. Some reviews I've seen have said that it's just a bunch of convenience and they feel like they're out of place. I don't think that's entirely true. I think there are a lot of movies that do suffer from that, but in this particular case, Ian Malcolm, where he is in this movie, where he is a part of Biosyn and he kind of weaseled his way in there and he's like an inside man, that worked. He brought in Ellie brought in Alan. It's not like they all came together separately and then they all end up with our new cast and just a constant stream of conveniences. There are some conveniences, like how they all come together kind of in the end, but at the same time they're all trying to escape, they're all trying to get out, and so it kind of makes sense that maybe they would cross paths. I'm not that upset about that. Like I said, the fact that each character, as far as the originals, brings in another original instead of them all conveniently just being a part of the story separately, I think that worked. I didn't hate that. Yeah, the good stuff as well is kind of tainted with some of what I consider to be more disappointing, not necessarily bad stuff. I guess to wrap up already my good thoughts on it, I think in a lot of ways you can compare this movie to Fantastic Beasts 3 in that a lot of the new dinosaurs were in the trailer, a lot of the cool stuff they did was in the trailer, and they kind of blew the excitement of seeing some of them. The only dinosaur that's not in the trailer that we see in the movie is the Dimetrodon, but the Dimetrodon doesn't really get to do a whole lot, and we don't even get like a really good shot of it. So in a way, it feels like Fantastic Beasts 3 in that the trailer blew all the good parts of the creatures that are kind of the focus of these films about whether it be magical creatures or dinosaurs. But I had way more fun watching this movie. Like, I really did. Like, I would watch it again. And I've only seen it once, and I'm a big believer on you really can't solidify an opinion on a film unless you see it like at least 2 or 3 times. That's just a me thing. But even after the first going, even with some of my disappointments, I still had fun. I enjoyed it. Like, There are dinosaurs doing cool dinosaur things, and there are humans doing cool human things with dinosaurs. And that's really all I need from this franchise. I thoroughly like all the Jurassic Park movies, all of them, all 6 of them. And I both love and hate Jurassic Park 3. Like, it's so easy to hate because it's really not good. And yet that film still has some good stuff in it, and I enjoy watching it. I love to complain about it. This one, it feels different in that in Jurassic Park 3, which I won't get into too much because that could be a whole video on its own, I feel like that movie did the dinosaurs well and did the humans very poorly. And this one, I feel like the humans are done fine and the dinosaurs are done fine. It's really not that horrible either way, but it kind of creates this sense of like, So that's I'm just gonna jump right in now to the negatives. So for me, the biggest negatives are the glaring potential continuity errors that this film introduces that the other ones really haven't done before. I really hate continuity errors. It just irks me all the time. And in the video I made that I referenced earlier, predicting stuff for this movie, I point out how in the trailer we see a scene of Quetzalcoatlus making a nest on top of a skyscraper.
But what makes me think more than anything that the ending will be them, just the dinosaurs that is, integrating into the environment, the ecosystem, and the food chain, is in this trailer we see for a second the Quetzalcoatlus, what looks like the Quetzalcoatlus, making a nest at the top of a skyscraper.
And that indicated to me that that was from the end of the movie, implying that whatever plan they have to contain the dinosaurs fails, and even the new dinosaurs that we get introduced to end up escaping and just integrating into the world. Now, the dinosaurs do integrate into the world. However, that scene that I referenced in the video that was from the trailer of the Quetzalcoatlus on the skyscraper, that is in the beginning of this movie. Like, this little news clip, we're referencing that the dinosaurs are out and about causing issues, and we just see them all the time, and like, what do we do? That's in the first 10 minutes of the film. And Quetzalcoatlus did not escape Lockwood Manor with all the other dinosaurs. Quetzalcoatlus wasn't on either park. From what I can tell, I've Googled it repeatedly, and it's not on InGen's list in any of the other movies. It's not on the list that you can look up. It wasn't in the aviary with the pterodactyls and the dimorphodons in Jurassic World. It wasn't around to be captured to then escape Lockwood's estate. So it doesn't make sense that that dinosaur is already out and about. And the other problem with that just reaffirms that point is we get introduced to Quetzalcoatlus later in the movie, and they frame it in that kind of dramatic way of like, oh, well, what's this? This is something new. We haven't seen this before, which, again, like I said, would mean this wasn't something that we've experienced before. This isn't something that was just around. And it's the same thing with like the Noseutosaurus. There's a new Triceratops-like dinosaur in this movie, and not only is it in this movie and it's escaped and it's out and about, it's like the first dinosaur that Claire is trying to help in the opening of the film, but it's also in the collection of videos they made for marketing. If you don't know what this is, Universal, they made a bunch of these like home footage and security cam videos of all over the world of like people seeing dinosaurs in the wild. It was really cool. I thought it was a good promotional marketing thing. It made it feel more real. But in one of those videos is a baby Noseutosaurus, which again, that dinosaur was not a part of InGen's list, so it was not on either island, and it wasn't a part of Jurassic World. From what I can tell, it wasn't on the Arcadia's manifest, even though there's a whole controversy on whether or not that list is accurate or not. But still, we don't see it. It's not listed, so it's not anywhere. So when you look it up, they imply that people are making new dinosaurs all over the world. And that's all good and fine. But these dinosaurs are also escaping from these places that are making them. And that's just like a big leap. Like, we left the one movie and we know of these dinosaurs that have escaped. And now we hop into this movie and we're learning about, like, we can only assume that there are other places making other dinosaurs, new dinosaurs that are also escaping. And it seems like a cheap way to introduce new dinosaurs, and you don't need to do that. It's also just that's not the time to introduce them because it creates this confusion. And granted, part of the appeal for these films is kids like 8 to 12, 15. They're going in just for the fun of it. They're not going to notice, they're not going to care. But it's still a detail that could have been handled a little bit better. That whole sequence with Claire saving the Nasutosaurus baby, Nasutosaurus, I'm sorry, can't remember which one, that could have easily been a Triceratops or a Sinoceratops or an Ankylosaurus, like a dinosaur we already know of. It didn't need to be something brand new that kind of was confusing. Now, again, at the end of Fallen Kingdom, we do see that some of the dinosaurs were successfully sold and are in the hands of some shady people, and they're very clearly making more through whatever scientific labs they have. And that's when we get to that cool black market scene, and we see a bunch of dinosaurs being sold on the black market. We see more baryonyx, more carnivores, more allosauruses, and those were dinosaurs that we know were sold. And that worked. I think that was kind of cool to see that. But then we get the Atrociraptors. And looking it up, that lady who was releasing them, apparently she made them through whatever company she's a part of. But it's not made very clear in the movie. And that's my overall point, is that there are so many dinosaurs now that aren't accounted for, and you don't really know like where they've come from, because they can't all come from what was released at the end of Fallen Kingdom. And the only thing that they kind of imply in the movie, or the only thing you can take from it, is that Biosyn is making more dinosaurs and maybe selling them on the black market, or like not keeping track of them. I don't know. It wasn't clear. And that's the bigger point there, is that the film as a whole is very convoluted. There's a lot going on, and a lot of it doesn't really connect in a good way. The big evil, the big antagonistic thing is that Biosyn has made these locusts that are going to eat all the grain and crops, except for their grain and crops, because they want control over the economy. And that by itself isn't all that bad. They don't really explain how they've engineered these late Cretaceous locusts, but that making them is not a big issue. Using them to try and create control, I don't see a big issue with. But I think for a lot of people, again, even though this is something that kind of makes sense, both in a scientific way and in an evil industry way, in the world that we have been presented, we don't care, exactly. Like, we go into this movie wanting to see how the world is dealing with dinosaurs. We want to see what the dinosaurs are doing. And they've introduced this new issue, this new obstacle that, while believable, I think, and while problematic, it's not the forefront, I think, of what we want to see out of this film. And then the way to correct it, because the bugs are out of control, they're causing more damage than what they anticipated, and so they have to fix it. So they're going after Maisie, and they're going after Beta, because for some reason there's something in her cloned genetics that her mom made that can fix the bugs. Yeah, even though I like these movies, that's a bit much, because she's already the first and only, so far, perfect human clone, even though they kind of retconned it a little bit. Like, that's already, I would think, like tempting enough that people would want that. They'd want that scientific ability. I don't think they had to give her any kind of significance into solving the issue. Tracking her down and wanting to capture her, I think, already worked by itself. And adding that extra significance just felt unnecessary, and I know people aren't going to care about that. Same thing for Beta, because Beta was supposed to have some sort of significance to that as well, as far as the whole cloning genetics, but like, they don't do anything with her. She's really not important. She's just there for some cool Velociraptor things. I don't know. It's, again, I've only seen it once, and it's been like a month ago. But still, my biggest takeaway, my biggest issue with this movie, as a dinosaur nerd and a Jurassic Park nerd, is how little we get from the dinosaurs. That is my biggest. The dinosaurs are all over the world, and there are new species to meet, and I feel like we really don't get a whole lot of interaction with them. Like there's a cool sequence in Malta, I believe, with the Atrociraptors, which are kind of cool. They're like a kind of a step up, terrifying level of the Velociraptor. They look a little different. They sound a little different. It's kind of fun. But we've had the running away from the Velociraptors in every single movie. So that really doesn't feel like something new. But as well, in this whole sequence, in the background, a Carnotaur and an Allosaurus have escaped and are just roaming around Malta. And we really only get like 5 seconds of seeing that. They're just eating tourists left and right. And then Claire and Owen just fuck right off. Sorry. Claire and Owen leave very respectfully, and they just they get out of there. But I feel like they could have had more fun with that. It would be like San Diego Part 2, but with 2 dinosaurs. And like, what do you do? Like, we never find out what happens to Malta and who goes and fixes that, who goes and cleans up that mess and captures 2 massive carnivorous theropods. And the Atrociraptors are just out and about. Like they released so many dangerous carnivorous dinosaurs in Malta, and we never find out what happens. So that's definitely an issue. And then my other point. I made a point in the last video that every time we've had a new dinosaur introduced, they kind of get like a moment. And for the most part, that's true in this movie. But the moments are so small and so fleeting, and a lot of it was in the trailers. Like Quetzalcoatlus, like I said, everything that thing did in the movie, it did in the trailer. It took down that plane, and then it was gone. We see it in passing moments, like later, not doing anything at all. Like that creature was not a part of this movie. Dreadnoughtus, one of the biggest sauropods. We have a moment where Alan Grant notices it, and that's like all we get. We get a name drop. The Therizinosaur has the most probably of any cool, significant follow-up moments. We get to see it, we get to be spooked by it, and I kind of thought there was maybe a little bit of an inside joke with that because of what they did in the first Jurassic Park movie.
What do you call a blind dinosaur?
I don't know. What do you call a blind dinosaur?
Do you think he saw us?
It's a terrible joke.
Maybe not, just coincidence. I don't know. Therizinosaur, I think, worked for the most part. But again, not a lot. And then Dimetrodon, like I had said before, it has a moment, but not much. And then Giganotosaurus, I think, is the most disappointing because the trailers and the marketing, it's like this is the biggest carnivore that ever existed. It's the new big bad, perhaps. We're going to see it go up against the T-Rex again. And it does. And the T-Rex wins with the help of the Therizinosaur, and we get a little bit of it like chasing our characters around, much like the T-Rex has before. So again, it doesn't really feel that new. But the difference is, like, we see the T-Rex use the Therizinosaur's claws essentially to kill the Giganotosaurus, and I think that's supposed to be like a yay moment. Like, they killed it. They killed the Giganotosaurus, but we didn't really establish a hatred for this animal. They said in the opening, or when they come into this facility where all the dinosaurs are, that in this ecosystem they've created, that the Giganotosaurus is the apex predator here. This is just where it's hanging out. This is its home. And then the T-Rex comes in and is kind of, making waves. It's not the Spinosaurus, which is kind of the first real genetic monster that's throwing off the ecosystem and just killing everything. And it's not the Indominus Rex, which is a psychopath Frankenstein monster dinosaur that's, again, killing everything and everyone and it needs to be put down. It's not the Indoraptor, which is bred to kill. It's just another animal. And not even like an inherently evil animal. Like, they do not establish why we should be happy that they killed it. You know what I mean? Like, so that was kind of disappointing. And again, it had very little screen time. That kind of comes back to another point for me, is why are we making new dinosaurs? It's not a theme park anymore. It's not all for shady black market military or rich people use. And they just kind of throw out there, it's like, oh, well, it's the pharmaceutical stuff. It's pharmaceutical reasons. Pacific Rim did the same thing with the kaiju, but they actually took time to explain why. Like, this part of this kaiju is good for plants, and this part is good for whatever. What is the pharmaceutical use of having the largest example of every kind of animal ever? We have the largest carnivore ever. We have the largest flying thing ever. We have this thing for whatever terrifying reason. Like, what is the pharmaceutical reason to still be making dinosaurs? As a dinosaur person, you know, I love that they're making new dinosaurs. But why? Like, there's no why given. Or the why is given, but it's not elaborated on. And it's just... So it's one of those things where, like, I'm not mad, but I'm disappointed. Because at the end of Fallen Kingdom, there are several questions that we kind of leave with. Questions that a follow-up film you would think would borderline be obligated to address. And this film, at the beginning of the movie, asks those same questions, but does not answer any of them. Like, at all. And the other thing about this will probably be my last point unless I think of another one. This video will be a little long. Who cares? This doesn't feel like the ending of a trilogy or a saga. It feels like the in-between of a new saga. Like Fallen Kingdom was could be considered the ending of a trilogy because the island is done and the dinosaurs escaped. And this is kind of like the middle or the first in a new trilogy because the dinosaurs are everywhere. There's a new company doing stuff with dinosaurs. There's new dinosaurs. And it's nothing is like really resolved at the end of the movie. So like, where do we go from there? And then another thing for me is I binge watched Camp Cretaceous in lead up for this, thinking that maybe it will actually have something to do with this movie. And it doesn't. The next season still takes place before this movie even occurs. So there's that. But that again means there's even more weird, shady science stuff going on with the dinosaurs because there's stuff going on in that show that's unrelated to the movie. So it's a mess. I did enjoy it though. There were things that I had fun with. Like I said, I love seeing the new dinosaurs. I love seeing Dilophosaurus again. Like I said in the last video, this is the first time we've seen Dilophosaurus since the very first movie. So that was cool, and they kind of have a couple of moments. We have one where we got to kind of get to see them, and then they end up killing Dodson, who's carrying the same menthol can, which that was something other videos are going to point out too. There's a lot of like fan servicey stuff in this, and sometimes it works and sometimes it falls kind of flat. So yeah, I mean, if I had to give it a score, which I don't typically like doing because it fluctuates on the day for me personally, I'd say like it's like a C minus, which might already be generous. So I don't know. I was hoping for more, not in the grandiose or the scale, but more as far as like the implications and what we plan to do with the world. But yeah, there were still cool things. I like the relationship between Owen and Maisie. I like how Claire is struggling to be a mom after all of the talk from the first movie about her not wanting to be a mom. Like, I think that was kind of cool to carry that over. I like yeah, I guess that's all I really like. So there's a few things I like. And like I said, I would watch it again. Yeah, that'll be kind of, I think, my closing thought is it is probably arguably the worst of the 6. But as far as my enjoyability watching it, I enjoyed watching this more than I enjoyed Jurassic Park 3. Even if Jurassic Park 3 handled the dinosaurs in that movie better. Because, you know, we get introduced to new dinosaurs in that, not many of them, but they give the pterodactyls like a really good sequence. They build the terror and the fear, and we really get to understand kind of how they operate as a predator, even in that brief moment. We don't really get any of that in this movie for any of the new dinosaurs except the Therizinosaurus. So if anything comes out winning from this movie, it's the Therizinosaurus. So good for it, I guess. That'll be it for this one. Hope you maybe enjoyed it more than I did. So yeah, thanks for watching, and thanks to everyone who watched the last one. Like I said, it has the most views of any other video so far, so that's really cool. If you like any of this nerdy stuff, or you just like me talking for whatever reason, you You could consider subscribing. You don't have to, but for every subscription we get on this YouTube channel, I'm doing a little drawing and putting it in this great big poster. And it's doing rather well so far, and I'm liking the characters I've made up for it so far. Well, there's also, like everyone else in the world, me and my roommate who are making this channel have a podcast where we talk about very similar nerdy stuff. This is just a more visual format than the podcast is. So, there's stuff you can check out if you like us. So, consider it. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next time. So have a good day.
Pizza time.